another warrant out there, whether it's binding or not, to just hold up for a year, but that will be put up by, not your school board, but will be put up by other people in the town. So, guys, I appreciate what you did. You know, since I started this thing, I had 3 trips to the hospital. I'm done. I'm glad we're all done with this. And best of luck, however it plays out. I know we're all support and what I will support. Thank you.
Thank you. John, you want to speak?
John Wilson, Stagecoach. First, I'd just like to say thank you for your service and your efforts. I mean, you're basically volunteers. Tiny stipend doesn't compensate for the amount of time and effort you put into it. And I was impressed tonight. I mean, everybody spoke from the heart as well as the head. And I know it's been difficult, probably felt difficult the last couple of years, and the next few months may feel difficult as well. So I think it's justified, you know, to recognize the time and the effort and the service you put in. So I'd like to do that. And regardless of what happens with the outcome of the vote, I mean, you'll each have 1 to 3 years left in your terms, and the work will exist, either the work to put in the new structure, the renovations, or just to continue as we have. So I think it's important that you get through the next 3 months with enough enthusiasm and good feelings that you continue to work so that the day-to-day happens. So regardless of what happens, hopefully you feel, you know, that you recognize and willing to do that. Second point, I mean, the saying, not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. So I think how the process unfolds over the next few months will be important, you know, just for the good of the overall town and the future of, you know, what might happen after the March vote. And so I thought you were very good last year, very good so far this year about just letting people have dialogue and come to the meetings and ask questions, or at the different sessions, have, you know, information sessions. But I would throw out there as food for thought over the next couple of months, if you include as some part on your agenda, you know, Q&A, or have some type of Q&A session, because just having public comment with no response, I think leaves people feeling cold. And at this point, it's a political process. You need to get so many votes. And if people feel like you're not interested in answering their questions, they're going to be less likely to vote. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to alter public comments, but you could have a section on the agenda that just says Q&A on the warrant articles, or something to that effect. Or you have a separate Zoom session, you know, for an hour once a month, just so people feel like they at least got to ask the questions. They may not like your answers, you may not like their questions, but having the process be as interactive as possible, I think, will help for whatever happens after the fact. And then the third and final point is I do personally believe that, you know, the ultimate solution will require a lot more synergy between all the entities that spend money in town or that take taxpayer money. So I think it would be to the benefit of the school in general if you had representation at the different meetings for groups that spend money, like the library, the recreation department, the select board, the water and sewer commission. And you're already all putting in a lot of time. So, you know, it's a tough ask to say spend some more time by going to all these different meetings once a month, but you certainly can. You're not going to be a voting member, but you can sit and listen. I think the more you understand about how those entities work, where their money comes from, where their money goes to, will help down the road in terms of, you know, maybe we can overlap on this, or maybe we can ask them for a little this, or a little that. And if you don't want to take on that extra responsibility for yourselves, and there are people in your kind of school community that might want to serve as a liaison, which would not be official, they would just agree to attend a meeting once a month, which I think they could do via Zoom. And then they would report back to you, either formally or informally, okay, here's what's going on with the library, here's what's going on with recreation, here's what's going on with water and sewer, here's what's going on, it's not really a hydroelectric committee, but, you know, somebody who gets really knowledgeable on hydroelectric plant that generates revenue. And that, you know, one of them speaks to your board once a month, or they give you a little one-page memo or something like that. Because I've seen great things happen with Kevin overlapping in the school and the town discussions. And I feel like I've learned a lot by coming and going from the different discussions. just throw that as food for thought, because the more everybody who's making decisions knows about what everybody else is doing, I think it will help in the long run. Thank you, that's all.
Thanks for being here and speaking. Please, Amanda.
I just wanted to, I put out a survey at the elementary school to see how teachers felt about moving forward with the project or waiting a year, and it was 100% unanimous to move forward with the addition and the proposal. So just wanted to give you guys that information.
Thank you. Kevin and Chris.
Yeah, well, if John referenced me in a positive way, I feel a need to take a bow.
Take it.
Well, you show up at the meeting.
You're bowing anyway by the time Hunt's over, Ken. Don't worry
I'm
about
bowing, but I'm not bending, Mike. So, anyway, I don't speak for the Community Advisory Committee. I was a member of it, and I just really appreciate the school board taking this kind of innovative initiative to get community input. And at the conclusion of it, a lot of discussion within the committee, but I think you got it. I think you got it on the two fronts about the K through 12 or pre-K 12 and the Warren article that most people supported, not all, but most people supported. From the Budget Advisory Committee, which I'm also a member of, to take John's point of, on the school part of it, we are making a recommendation that the school and the town make a more formal recognition to meet and to discuss things, not so much by department, that's up to you, but certainly on major warrant articles that come before this community, because as my colleague Chris has said, we all pay the same tax bill. So both on the town point, which Chris has pushed and I've supported, we want the town to do the same thing, reciprocity, to say, come on, we're one community, we pay one tax bill. You guys, the ladies, are clever enough to come up with a process to say, how can we sit down and benefit all the taxpayers and all the citizens? So kind of a dual type of role I play here. But from the CAC, Community Advisory Committee, I really thank you for listening. I think you have listened. And from the ABC Committee, I keep urging you to not close your ears and be willing to work with someone you don't always agree with. I would say that on both sides of the coin, and appreciate your efforts. I was very impressed with your comments tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Chris Whitehouse.
I think I'd like to address, one of the biggest things, the RSAs on the deliberative session is the town people at that session are the governing body of the town, and there is no higher authority in the town. So I would not probably try to limit anybody coming to it. I probably want to get sued over that, because the town people are the highest legislative body in the town, over you and the board stuff, FYI. A couple of things, a couple comments you guys all made, as you said, Goshen looking at wanting to come to Sunapee. That sounds like an opportunity to lower the tax burden on the taxpayer. If those kids want to come here, why wouldn't we let them in? That's gonna help the taxpayer. Why wouldn't we do it? But your proposal here for the school, first of all, $680 grand is not fiscally responsible to ask for an increase in taxation. Just an opinion on that. That's not really fiscally responsible at all. But what you're asking for is going to add about $3,200 per student based upon the current enrollment of the cost per student. You're going to put it about $34.5 grand. So you talk about paying tuition in Goshen's complaining about how much tuition they have to pay, or another town. I'd be willing to bet there isn't a town out there that's going to pay $34 grand to send somebody to another school. That's not the way it works. We charge $14.5 grand. We're one of the best in the state, right? So it's cheaper. It's cheaper to send somebody to another school. I'm not saying we got to do it, but it's cheaper. Can't really deny that. Mr. Nichols, you're a self-employed man. If you raise the cost of doing business higher, or I should say, you raise the cost of doing your business, and you had a decline in business, how long do you think you'd survive? That sums up the Summit View School District. Budgets go up, enrollment goes down, cost per student is just skyrocketing. So, back to your point about Goshen, sounds like we've got an opportunity to lower that cost. And as far as your architects and project managers, EEI, et cetera, Jan, let me ask you a question. If I give you $5, will you tell me I'm pretty?
It'll cost you a lot more.
That sums up what you guys have done. You pay somebody to tell you what you want to hear. That's the gist of it. That's what you need. Thank you.
If there's anything in comment? Any last comments?
Hey Jess, I know I spoke, but just a quick idea. Can you Zoom, like if you have people in this gym and down in Sherwood? No? I mean, that's how you do some town meetings too. No?
Yeah, well, actually, I was just getting on the next item. I was writing, let's make sure the deliberative session, the voters are the governing body. How do we make it as accessible and safe as possible? Zoom or other factors that can be, just, do some discovery, talk to the town, and we can make that an agenda item for next.
I also think if you end up putting it out, and we need reservations by this date, you know how many come in, so we have to do it in 2 nights.
Yeah.
Was on the way that somebody said.
Yeah, well, several will be working on that, so for agenda item for next time is, gonna state the obvious, project update, deliberative session plan update.
So you have a lawn hearing, you have a budget hearing, and you have a board meeting.
Yep, it's the marathon night.
Yep, at the board meeting, right now we have, assessment video, Aaron coming in, she's giving us an overview on the deliberative session process. We need to talk about the actual deliberative session and what that looks like.
Yeah.
Moving forward, based upon information that you and I are both gonna gather. And we have a request from the recreation department to come forward. Scott and I are gonna try to squeeze in a policy committee meeting and have some policy to bring forward to us.
Great.
That's that's a lot.
No, I'm trying to remember, the ritual is usually the bond is 5?
So bond was at 5, budget is 5:30, board at 6.
Okay, yeah, so, bring some healthy snack products, or snack products, and a jug of water or coffee, so that's one of the marathon nights for board service.
That's the first
That's the
January.
third-
Same
that's
as our board meeting?
That's the 13th.
Oh, there's-
Oh, my calendar messed up.
It is the 13th of January.
I had the second, which makes no sense at all.
I'm not coming on the second.
I had that, I imprinted that wrong and it stuck. January 13th, we will gather again, starting at 5 o'clock. Anything else? That's more than enough, we covered a lot. Motion to adjourn at 8:12, can I get a second? That was kind of, entertaining, now. I say, all in favor, Anthony, call, good night.